Hey guys, welcome back. Much appreciate all the interaction on the last video. I quite didn't expect that. And also, just before we start, I want to get into some points I kind of overflew in the last one. And I was trying to talk about how the party system is flawed, and I kind of got stuck on the sheep mentality and shit like that. And yeah, what I wanted to say is that the thing is that in the party system, you need to be corrupt from the start, right? So, because you need to have like a voting campaign and you need quite some substantial money to get the people to know you, so you have people that are voting for you. I mean, even though we live in the internet and stuff, it doesn't seem to work as well, right? So, yeah, you still need your marketing and shit like that, so you still need a lot of money. And how do you get money when you're politically interested? I mean, you can think of that for yourself, right? But I mean, lobbyism is legal, right? It's part of the system. So that's just a thing that every party is set up in somewhat of a corrupt way. I mean, they're getting the money from somewhere. I don't think that's a taxpayers or something like that. I think it's probably some millionaires, who have some interest in some political change. And yeah, so a party can never be true, like have a true ideology or something, right? Because in the end, they gotta be opportunistic when the biggest money giver is like telling them, I want that to happen. I don't know, I just think it works like that or around like that. Also, I was kind of surprised. I haven't found like a left guy in the comments who's like granting me for my beliefs, which is kind of cool. I kind of expected that, but all right. I guess I found my echo chamber. Yeah. Also, I wanted to talk a bit about the left thing, because the left isn't only just some ideological sexual identity stuff. They also uh, scream very loud that the rich are the problem, right? And the rich need to be more taxed and shit, and yeah, and stuff like that. And the sentiment I get, uh, it's in the zeitgeist, right? It's yeah, I hate to eat the rich, how they say, and yeah, the left, and I think also the green SPD maybe not, but I think green left they like to have like taxes for like rich people and shit like that, and yeah, and you know what's happening, maybe because like yeah, from the idea it sounds really nice, right? Taxing the rich. I mean, we could have thought about that earlier, right? Yeah, a little problem is that if you start taxing the rich too much, they just leave, right? They just go to another country where they pay less tax, and it's not just like that. Every millionaire and billionaire is just hoarding the money like a loot goblin. It's they also do investments and shit, right? They also have like the companies and stuff they put money in, right? The investors, they always tell us about. It's about the investors, right? And because I mean, we both know that money is not stable, right? Especially currency in this time of age. I mean, I remember there used to be times, not that I was alive around that time, but there used to be times where like the money was like somewhat stable, bounded to the gold you have in your banks or something around that. Yeah, seemed to be a bad idea, I guess, because otherwise we would do it, right? I mean, the good thing is if you don't have that, you can just print money, right? Like, I don't know, you need something. Hey, let's just print some money. The taxpayers and the normal workers and people, it sucks for them because everything is getting more expensive for them and shit like that. But I mean, we don't have to care, right? Because we print the money for the people, right? So in the end, we're helping them. That's like the idea, I guess. Yeah. So the left is also doing that, right? And I think the right is also getting a lot of is getting fronted a lot because they're like somewhat of the opposite, that they want to like help the millionaires and shit like that, and I also can understand why people don't really like that, right? But I think it's like just part of reality that we need those people, I guess. In the end, we live in the capitalism, and not just in any capitalism, we live in a global capitalism. So you can't just have a new system, and think that everything will be the same. It won't. It's not happening. And in the end, yeah, capitalism is like steroids a bit. If you don't take him, you can just not compete. And that's a big factor to compete in an economy way. Yeah, I think. Yeah, and like when you're all tax rich and shit like that and stuff like that, they have like the problem that it's not just the rich people getting out of this country, right? It's also sometimes that they're taking their workers with them, or their companies, or their workplaces. So you have like the problem where we have like a little. The writers or the AfD is calling it the deindustrialization of Germany. And if you didn't know, like the industry was like a big thing of this country. I mean, like the made in Germany thing, right? And personally, I think we still have that, like, uh, because I used to travel a bit, and when I'm somewhere in another country, and I see something is made in Germany, I know it will be alright. It will do its job. It won't break in 2 days. It might break in a week. It might break in two, but not in 2 days. So to some degree, I guess we still got that made in Germany thing, but of course you can feel how it's just going away. And yeah, also I think I've wrote down some notes, so I'm a bit more structured this time, and maybe I don't take 1.5 hours. Yeah, the question of the leading culture. Not quite sure, but from the discussions I've heard, it's like that the leading culture is more like a myth or something like that, or supposed to be a myth, I guess. It seems to be the leading culture is somewhat like a religion. You believe in it or don't. For some people, it exists. For some people, don't. Um, I think personally, it's for me. I think it exists, of course, right? I mean, it, you have those cliches, right? About like French people and British people and stuff like that, and also about German people, right? And I wouldn't say it's racism or something like that, to have these cliches, right? Of course, they're not always just respectful, but the truth is that it's always two-sided, right? So you always have a trait that gives out a positive result that also can have negative results. Like the last time I was speaking about like the that we Germans like to rule thing, and to structure thing, and to have our regulations and stuff, to think about everything, and yeah, it's a good and a bad thing, right? I think you guessed it, but yeah, and yeah, we're leading culture, I mean, where is this going? I mean, I think America is a bit. I mean, yeah, I know you guys have your own culture over there, and but yeah, I mean, you have leading culture, and the thing is, America's leading culture is so dominant that it just took over in Europe. I mean, especially in Germany. I'm not a French guy or something, so I don't want to talk to for everyone. Um, but still, yeah, I think like the American Dream, all those Hollywood movies and stuff like that, just really came over to Germany, and it's kind of like yeah, that we just copy pasted it, that it's about having a good job, getting a lot of money, having a big car to drive everywhere, having a house, your own land and shit like that. For me personally, it's also about having guns, but that's something, we're Europeans and our guns. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, leading culture, I think that's really plays a really big role, and also why the left is getting so big. Um, because like, yeah, what do we believe in, right? What is the culture? What are our morals, And in the German national song, they say Rechte, Einigkeit und Freiheit, right, uh, agreeability, and unity, I guess. And yeah, we're pretty far away from that. Pretty far away. And yeah, and I mean, to be fair, personally, I think that the left and right somewhat want the same thing, They want stability. They don't want to be the assholes, and because you could say, yeah, the AfD is pretty radical or populistic or whatever, Sure they are, but they're always ranting like the left and the CDU and whatnot for always being pro-war in the Ukraine, always spending a lot of money for the Ukraine, giving them a lot of resources and shit like that, where we pretty much know that not all of the money is going where we want it, and Ukraine is somewhat, you could have the suspicion that it might be a bit corrupt, just a bit. And so the AfD also is like, pulling that morally card that, yeah, we don't want to support that war, and yeah. I don't know, I'm not too much into that Ukraine war thing. I guess I somewhat understand both sides, but I don't know, not too much my thing, I guess. But yeah, I mean, leading culture, right? It's just not existent or not anymore, right? And I don't know, when I talk like to older people, like a couple of days I was talking with my neighbor who was like 60 years old, also with my dad who's around 50. They're still from a different time, and they still somewhat know how it's used to be, I guess, when you had like a leading culture, when you had like ideals to look up, and it's not like the leading culture is, like a Nazi fascism that everyone has to be the Aryan SS guy in a neat uniform or something like that. No, of course not, right? Leading culture is just like a mainstream, it's just a stream that has a lot of people, looking in the same direction. Doesn't mean that everyone has to go the same exact way, It's just that it's easier, I guess, or something that you need the leading culture for, is that you just know that you somewhat have the same motivations as your fellow people. And in Berlin, when there's a lot of left people, I don't get that. I don't get that feeling that the people want have the same motivation than me. They might want to achieve same things, But when I tell a really left guy that I think that the right and the left want the same thing, he wants to punch me in the face. Because it's completely different, The one is like for national and fascists and Nazis and that make Germany great again, and I don't know. And the left is so kind, so sensible, they understood, they're morally superior, that understood the cycle of life, and they just outbreak it, they understood it, they've woken up. Yeah, and I think that's also just in the end, lack of leading culture, because we live in capitalism, we live in the globalized world, and we live in countries with borders, with history. It's not like, I don't know. Sometimes I feel like people are just they're getting so into their head, and they're getting to a point where they're almost getting spiritual, where it's almost just a point of belief, that borders are just if you don't believe in borders, then there might be no borders or something like that. Borders were just thought out by some guy, and we just think about them different, But like I mean, I get the thing of being like critical against everything. I'm totally on that side, but maybe, you ask yourself, why are there borders, Or about like the refugees and immigrant thing, I mean, let's look at America, Why is America building a wall between Mexico and America? There's like a lot of reasons, especially because America fucked up Mexico and they don't want to handle with that. But besides that, it's also that immigration, especially uncontrolled immigration, um, just can make a lot of trouble, a lot of issues. And because it's not just about integration, right? I mean, a lot, but it's also about the people, right? When you have like, when you import like hundreds of thousands of people, from an Islamic state, and you have like people who still think Islamic, and they come to Germany, and we need to respect that, even though the Islam basically hates the Christians, and like theoretically, if you really go into that, the Islam should try to be against Germany, because Germany is standing for a lot that the Islam is not standing for. And when they come here, and they say, yeah, burn the Christians, burn the Jews, and then the left is like saying, yeah, that's your culture, man. I respect that. And like that total inability, right? They want to save their own morals at that one time, but also be like super world open and everyone can have their culture and shit like that, And they just don't see that it's not working, that it's just an utopia that will not exist, Yeah. I don't know. I think I got kind of lost. Leading culture is hard to talk about, I think, especially when you ask yourself, what is leading culture? What could be leading culture? It's really hard to say, because I think it's a lot of unwritten things, Leading culture is nothing you need to propagandize all the time if it's working, And yeah, I think, because also leading culture, right? It's like the idea, like your dad or your mom telling you have to do this and that in life, And I mean, it's, of course you have to make up your own mind and shit like that, but in the end, we want to do the right thing, Everyone wants to do the right thing. No one wants to be an asshole, except I know you're really down bad, and you got some psychic stress and trouble, might be something different. But most people want to do the right thing. That's why we have so many good mentioned. That's why we have so many left people, and also why we have so many right people. Everyone wants to do the right thing, And the question they should ask themselves is now, for who do we do the right thing, And I don't know. Maybe I'm more on the collective mind, But personally, I think I for me, I have not much interest anymore in my own things. A bit still, but I don't know. I got really down bad in life, and I kind of lost a lot of motivation to just be myself or just do shit for myself, Because I don't know. I also did a lot of drugs. I was a lot alone. Also, when I was traveling and shit like that, I had some quite some experiences, and I really lost myself in this world, And my upbringing with my mother was not too great, and I don't know. Like in the end, I remember I was like 18 or 19, and I did like a bunch of jobs. I tried like a bunch of shit, like yeah, and but like nothing was working out, or like everything that worked out for like a couple of months, and then I got like really depressive. Was going to the doctor like every day until I got kicked out, And that's how it usually went, And I got like really depressed, and I was like, "What's wrong with me? What's the problem here? What am I doing? I was thinking about everything, And that's the point where I got like really nihilistic and really depressive and suicidal, because I just felt there's no, yeah, how to say it? I don't know. I feel like I knew, or I've seen that I've lost the interest in my personal thing, I don't know, I wouldn't say it like that, but uh, I tried to do like a normal job or something, but in the end, like this politics stuff and shit like that, that's, I don't know, I'm always thinking about that. It's really hard to get that off my mind, And it's I don't know. I feel like it's different, you know. It's different than it used to be. And I know that history is full of these accounts, right? But people are like praising the doomsday, you know, and are like saying, "Oh yeah, this is the end, you know, this is the end, you know, the end will come, the end will come." I mean, the Christians pray the end will come for 2,000 years or something, right? But I think that the end is somewhat coming because, I mean, if you look into Second World War, you know, they just didn't have the tools we have right now. You know, we were getting to a point where, you know, with all this digitalized shit and stuff like that, you know, everyone has a smartphone. And I mean, if the state wants, you know, they collect all the data, you know, from us, and it could get really dystopian really fast. That's like the thing. And what is our goal? You know, what is our grand goal as humanity? You know, and I think that that's just that like nobody. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say nobody thinking about it, but I think like most people with the power, with the positions, they don't care. You know, and probably it's a human issue that we don't live too long. You know, and I mean like. Yeah, we just lived a bit too short to have like the grand vision to really think about the future, because in the end most people don't really care about the future. And I somewhat get it, you know, but like what's the point in getting my life together, you know, and because I know I will never be truly able to do a normal. I am able to do a normal job, but yeah, I will suffer with it, you know. And like what's the point, what's the point of fixing myself, you know, when there is no future, when there is nothing to uh yeah, real much to do, I guess. I mean, what is the grand scheme? Yeah, what is the thing you really want to do with life? And I don't know, for me, I feel like I want to do this political shit. I don't know, I can't take the shit no more. And I feel like the people are very, 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 very sick too. And I don't know. I think we need to reform like the party system and shit like that. But yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. But yeah, I was reading the comments under my last video, and there was a guy, a German guy, who was like saying that I should like go into nature, like follow my own interests, you know, stop um, getting myself too much into politics and the daily problems and stuff like that. And I can totally understand that. Totally, like I totally get that. And to be fair, I tried it, you know, maybe not hard enough. That's always what you can say, but personally, for my taste, I think I've tried quite a bit. Um, like after that depression thing, I started to go walking, to go hiking. I bought a lot of like outdoor equipment, you know, was like bushcrafting and shit like that. I started to take LSD and was a lot in nature as well. And I could feel the pleasure, you know, I could feel the simple joys of life. But when the trip is wearing over, when I'm coming back from the nature, I'm always at the end of every day, I'm getting reminded of this futureless world that we live in. And I wouldn't say even futureless, it's more like there's no really good future to look out for. And I mean, we never know. We never know. It might be not too bad, you know. Maybe Europe gets their shit together, and maybe America a bit as well, or something like that. Maybe we at one point understand that it's not too sensible to have like a corrupt democracy and then like doing wars because other ones don't have democracy, you know. And yeah, stuff like that, you know. We still think we are the good guys, you know. And I'm pretty sure we could be the good guys, but not the good guys, but just guys, you know. And in the end, war is a part of humanity. Conflict is a part of humanity. You know, there will always be movement. There will always be corrosion and stuff like that. But if you are alright, you know, as a human, you know, if you're listening to this right now, and you don't care too much about, you know, if you can get your mind off it, if you can do the thing that guy is saying, you know, go into nature, try to follow your own interest, please go for it, you know. But for some people, it's not too easily possible. And I think I'm very traumatized from my upbringing, and my mother was really bad for me, and it's not like that she hit me too much or something. It wasn't too much like a physical thing, but like really intellectual. You know, my mom was like always when I did something wrong, she was like, "Okay, you go into a room, and you will think about what you've done, and when you finish thinking about it, you come out and tell me." You know. So like I don't know, since I don't know 7 years or something, I got like used to thinking about stuff, observing stuff, analyzing stuff, you know, and also, I mean, my mother was just I think really borderline. So she just switched with the extremes a bit, you know. The one time she was like really strict, and everything was shit and whatnot, and then the other times everything was good, you know. And I think that borderlineness also just yeah, yeah, it kind of grow onto me, didn't it? Because for me it's like yeah, I know I want to die, you know, like if I could have the if I could have eternal life in this world right now, I don't want to have eternal life. I don't want to suffer for eternity, you know. uh yeah, and that's like the thing, you know, when I was 18, I kind of knew that, I kind of saw where my life will be going, because there's only this thinking political thing, this unhappiness sitting in myself, that um the world is going really to shit, you know. And the world was always about pain, competition and whatnot, right? And of course I'm looking a lot into history to see, you know, how our life was back then. And yeah, personally, I think it's different times. It's different times. We're getting ourselves into something that most of us probably can't comprehend, even myself not. And we're losing ourselves, you know. We're losing ourselves, our humanity in it. Like we're having like now this AI thing, you know, and everyone is just doing stuff with AI, which is all right, you know. It's a tool, you know, it's a tool that should be used and shit. But if you use that tool for basically everything, you know, it replaces stuff, you know. People maybe don't paint pictures for their thumbnails anymore. They just go into ChatGPT and ask them for a nice thumbnail. Or you know, a lot of new text that are published. And I think a lot of YouTube videos just, you know, they just ask ChatGPT, you know, ChatGPT, could you rant for me in politics for like an hour or something, you know? And yeah, we're getting more and more into the point where people are just giving up, man. They're just giving everything away. The responsibility, their own creativeness, and also their future, right? And I think that's what I like a bit about America, right? America is a bit more about the strength of the individual, right? To have like a farm in Texas, you know, have like a shotgun, and have like a big pickup truck, right? And I mean, I guess that's somewhat the American dream to some extent, right? And it makes sense. It makes for me, it makes totally sense. I would wish for myself that, you know. And I think, I don't know, maybe next time I would talk a bit about guns, because I love guns. I love guns a lot, you know. And while people hate guns, I kind of understand it, but doesn't make it easy, you know. And maybe if an American is listening, you know, I think yeah, a gun is a human right, you know, to have a gun. And every European thinks different that way. And I always thought, you know, Germany is like one of the strictest ones with the guns, when I talked about with that Norwegian guy, I was like, oh yeah, okay, well it can be actually worse, you know. um, yeah, but that's also a thing, right? It's not just that the laws for having guns and shit are bad in Germany. It's just that they're also getting shit with every more year, right? Because like the violence is rising, and we're having like, I don't know, way too many knife attacks in this country. So they're like, oh, we gotta ban the big military knives. Oh, we gotta ban this. We gotta ban that. You know, and it's not like that there were like that we had like every knife legal a couple of years ago. No, it was uh like all the cool knives, you know, all the one you see in the movie, the stiletto, the butterfly, the whatnot, you know, they're all illegal. All, I mean, I think some of them are legal to own, but not legal to carry and shit like that. But I remember when I was into bushcrafting, it was quite a hustle to get into the knife laws of this country and what I could carry into the forest and whatnot, right? And of course, in the end, nobody cares. You know, you're not going into the forest and getting like searched by a police patrol, and then like the hunters and the guys working in the forest, they don't care as well. I think they're not even allowed to search you, right? But whatever, you know. And yeah, that's what Europe I think wants. You know, Europe wants us to, or Germany, I guess, they want us to be defenseless, right? And I mean, of course, you have like the risk. Let's say America has like, let's say your two party system somewhat, I don't know, is breaking, yeah, and your country is kind of getting into a non-governmental governmental state, right? When you have like all those people with guns, could be shit, you know. But what does it matter, you know? I mean, if I'm honest, you know, if I get killed by an AR-15 or if I get stabbed by a knife, I might even choose the AR-15. To be fair, I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Maybe it's just me. But yeah, in Europe, I guess it's just a no go. Okay, we got a bit away. We were talking about leading culture. Now we're just talking about guns. I feel like, you know, writing down these notes, it doesn't do anything. You know, I'm still just gonna talk about what I want. It seems. Was there anything? Oh yeah. There was also a guy who did a comment and was writing that he instantly is like seeing that I don't want to work, and and he was like saying that he has worked like for 10 years and bought a house and shit like that. And congrats, man. Nice that you have the strength to do that. Like really, I give you that, and it's I can feel, you know, the sentiment, you know. That's something I observe a lot, right? That the older generation kind of, you know, they kind of criticize, you know, my generation, the younger people, because I'm not the only one, right? You probably have seen like hundreds of people, you know, on the internet where they're claiming or saying, you know, I don't need to work, I don't want to work, or something like that. And especially in Berlin, it's like a thing, you know. There's like people, you know, having like a college degree. To be fair, college degree is not as big a thing as in America. Luckily, like actually in Germany, it's like that. Like the parents can just decide, you know, if the parents think, my kid goes to college or not, you know. Kind of stupid, right? Because every American would be like, holy shit, you know, college for free, what the fuck, you know. Yeah, and that's how it is here, and that's why everyone has a college degree and everyone is studying. And because every parent is like, of course my kid goes to study, my kid will be a doctor or an astronaut or something like that, you know. My kid will be the greatest motherfucker of them all. And of course there are differences, it's not everyone all the time and shit like that, but you have that trend that just a lot of people in my generation are studying and having a college degree. And then they study, you know. Sometimes they study like 5 different things, you know, and then they are finished with studying when they're like 30 or something like that. And then you have like still some that are just saying, I still don't want to work, you know. Probably also in Berlin. Maybe it's just a Berlin thing. But I mean, you know, well, what kind of thing is that? You know, you're giving so much money, so much resources in these kids, you know, that they can do something and that they can make something of themselves, and also with that, you know, make something for the nation. Yeah, and yeah, they get all those stuff, and at the end they're like, nah, I don't feel like working, or or they're like studying something very, very specific that I don't find a job in something. Yeah, I guess you can't find a lot of things in that regard. But what I wanted to say is, well, don't want to work. It's not that I haven't worked. I think I would kind of hate myself if I would be like 23 and didn't work a single day in my life. I worked like as in a like ice cream gelato cafe. For like, what was it, like 2 years? 2 years. It was like the most shitty job I've ever had, but it was like the first one, so I couldn't tell, right? But it was like starting for like 6 euros because I was like underage, and I was getting like 6 euros an hour. And I would just remember, like the first couple of weeks they were kind of chill, and then I just got, yeah, can you do that? Could you do that? Oh, we'll show you that, and then you do that, And I was like over and over the months, was just the work and the responsibilities I was getting was just stacking up, and I was still getting 6 euros. But of course, I'm a true honest German, so I just do as I was told and don't reflect anything. And like after 2 years, I did like basically everything, like everything behind the counter, serving to the people, shit like that. I could make you, just the simple ice cream in your waffle. I could make you a big ice cream cup, with some nice chocolate and whatnot. Whatever you wanted, man, I got it for you. And if you want to drink, like the only thing I remember I couldn't do was coffee. I'm not a coffee drinker. I know I never got used to how coffees work, and I don't know all the differences and what it even means. I don't know, not too much into it. That was like the only thing. But yeah. And then he was like, yeah, if you do that coffee thing, then I will pay you better. And I was like, bro, I'm already doing everything, and and at the same time we had like workers that like people who were studying, and they were full aged, so they got like 12 euro 50, and they did nothing, they like only thing they could do was like make the ice cream into your waffle and shit, but not even in a good quality, it was always a bit too much or something, and I remember, we were told like every ball of ice cream needs to be like 80 grams or something, and I remember when I was starting, he was getting the weight of like every fifth ball I was making, just to make sure that I got, get the feeling for the right amount. And then this guy, from the studying is coming over, just getting like 12 euro 50. That's fucking more than the double I was getting, and he didn't do shit. Yeah, and then I was like to the guy, nah, man. So you give me a raise now, or I'ma leave, And it was like after 2 years, and then he was like, that's like unacceptable, And then I just left, and I just quit that job. And it was like my first peek into the work world, right? And how it can go. I know it's somewhat of the probably most shitty experience you can get. I guess it can be a bit more shittier. My co-workers were kind of right and stuff, but in the end, I was just working to death, and he didn't care. And it was not like that he was like a capitalist or something. I wouldn't say so. Like the guy I was talking about, the guy who threw me out, he wasn't even the boss, It was like the manager of the boss or something. And it was not like that. It was like the big ice cream company that was working all over Germany. They had like 2 stores in that one little shit town, And yeah. And yeah, was after I did some practical experiences, and trying to look into what was it, like I was working in a forest with a guy. Also, I hunted with him, and I remember butchering a wild hog, which is quite an experience if you grew up in a city, and then see yourself butchering a wild hog. It was quite an experience. Yeah, I was like working in the kindergarten, also with old people, and yeah, I did some stuff, and also some what was it, graphic design, like I don't know, making some stuff like that. But in the end, I don't know, it all felt so meaningless, I mean, the kindergarten thing was kind of nice, but it felt a bit too easy. I don't know if you can relate to that, if you found like a job where like that's just a bit too easy, you know. It's nice, but it's just a bit too easy. I don't feel too too challenged with it, you know. And and then I was like signing up for a gunsmith, because actually, even though Europe hates guns, we still have some gunsmiths around. And was like the same time my mother had like a new boyfriend, and the boyfriend was also like a hunter and a little gun collector, you know. He had like an original M16 A2 Vietnam, yeah, M16. It was fucking cool, you know. He didn't have the 20 round mag, he had a 30 round mag, but like completely pristine condition. I think it's the A2 with the chrome barrel, yeah, if I'm not mistaken. And he also had like an STG 43/1, which is like the Sturmgewehr 44, everyone knows. And also we shot a bit with it, and I don't know, that was where I really found passion, you know, like just guns are so satisfying. I don't know, man. I don't know. I just love them, you know, the perfection, and I don't know. And then I was like signing up for that gunsmith school, and you know, I was talking about how I was like learning like gun basics with the M16, with the Sturmgewehr bit, you know. Also, the guy had like the East German made AKM, which was like deactivated, so I could actually have that in my room, you know, play with that around, you know, all the time. And and I was, you know, writing, you know, really passionate about guns and stuff. And I wasn't accepted, and it wasn't even that I got like like why, you know. They just said nothing, you know. They just said nothing. And I mean, maybe it's because I don't have the college degree or something like that, but personally, I just think that was a bit too much, you know, for like the weak-hearted Germans, you know. They think they just want the guys, you know, like working on some simple hunting rifles, you know, and shit like that. And if you talk about stuff like that, they probably think you're better off at Heckler and Koch. Yeah. I don't know, which I never tried. You know, I got declined. I didn't get a respond, and then I don't know, it was really down on me, right? Because I was like doing quite some stuff, and then I was thinking, you know, that might be the thing. That might be the thing. I also was ready, you know, to move somewhere else. Of course, that wasn't in my area, so I had to move like across the country to do that. But I was totally willing to do that. But yeah, then in the end, it just didn't happen. And then I saw myself, you know, sitting in my apartment again. Oh, not my apartment. I was living by my mom at that point. And also my mom was like not mocking me or something, but really pushing me, you know, really like all the time getting pressure on me. You know, you need to do something. You need to find something. Um, I get it. I get it. You know, it's all right. It's all right. And then I was like, yeah, I need to become a man, you know. I need to do my own thing, and I just need to, because my dad, he was around to some degree, but I don't know, he was like a sugar daddy. He like always when I came to my dad was like having pleasure, eating sugar, and just playing computer games, you know. And like all the school stuff I was doing with my mom, you know, when I had to do something in the house, you know, some chores in the house, it was always with my mom, you know. And then when my dad had no expectations at all of me, which you might think, you know, could be way worse. He could be an alcoholic or something like that, and he could be completely the other way around. But to a certain degree, he just, yeah, he wasn't really there, you know, and especially not in the masculine man thing. You know, I didn't get the masculine orientation from me, and I never really got shown what a man needs to do. And my father loves to avoid conflict, right? And that's I think like one of the main things a man should be capable of, and getting himself into a conflict, and solving that to some degree, and not just avoiding conflict at every possibility. Yeah, so I went to the army, and tried my best there. And I was like working for like 6 months and shit. But I was like, after 6 months I had to do like more 6 months more, or I got the opportunity to leave, and I took like the last day I could leave. I left. um I mean, especially like the training in the beginning, like the first 3 months, the boot camp, you would say. It was actually like a boot camp. I didn't quite expect that, you know. Of course, I was looking, you know, watching Full Metal Jacket and stuff like that to prepare myself, you know, for the boot camp. And it was even a bit like that, you know. They screamed around, you know. We did some shit and stuff like that, and of course we now have women in the army, which mixes a bit stuff up, you know. They're always talking about, you know, equality and stuff like that, but like in the army it doesn't work, you know. You can't just, you know, scream to a woman like you would scream to another man. It's just not the right thing, I guess. It's just not the time. Yeah, so it was like a mixed experience, but in the end, you know, for what, you know? I mean, the idea would be nice, you know, if we had like a government that I could understand, you know, I could somewhat relate to, I would feel they would work for us and they would have like a future in mind, you know. I would go to war, you know. I think I'm somewhat patriotic, you know, and especially when I don't have too much interest in my own life. Um, like the last thing I could do is leave my life for the others, for the collective, you know. And I'm pretty sure not everyone thinks like that, and it's pretty good that way. But I also think I'm not the only one, probably. I would die for this country. I would die for also our history, not in the way you might put it. But I mean, of course, Germany is a bit older than since 1930s, right? And even than the First World War. And I don't know, like the buildings we have, the infrastructure, the privileges, yeah, the culture, the art, shit like that. That's all stuff that I think you can defend, right? And you don't, yeah, you just don't want to be run over, I think. Naja, okay. Yeah, that's just what I wanted to say. And yeah, after the Bundeswehr, I did traveling, I did the drugs, and then I was working like for 2 years in the grocery store, and now I'm here. You know, so I wouldn't say I had like no work experience, or it's just that I don't want to work. It is true that I don't want to work, but I think there are quite some motivations behind it, and I just know myself, you know. And right now, I'm in the position right now where I really need to find myself a job again, just to get those um, people from the state, you know, of my neck that always trying to, you know, "Oh, what you doing, bro?" So I need, I'm in a position where I need to find work again, and I think like it's not too hard to find like a job, you know, but I think it's somewhat hard to find like a job you can do for a couple of years. And it also like thing for me is like that I'm eating not well and stuff like that, you know. I'm fucked up, man. I'm really fucked up, and so yeah, I guess something like that. Um, yeah. Next time, I think I really wanna maybe talk a bit about the guns. Also, guys, you know, I mean, if you got your own opinions, your own experiences, especially, yeah, I mean, I think like probably this AFD phenomena is not just in Germany as it seems, you know, and in France they have like that thing, and it seems to be everywhere that you have like somewhat of an AFD movement. So please tell me your own experiences with it, and shout out to the Americans. I love you. And yeah, and maybe next time I'll speak a bit about more the state media. I think this one was quite a simple rant. Don't even have anything to show, no data or something. It was just pure ranting, I guess. Yeah, and maybe next time I'm gonna talk a bit about the state media. Also, I will you know, get some links, get some videos, maybe that I can show a bit the actual how it's looking, you know, and what they're doing to us. Alrighty, guys. Love you all. Appreciate all the interactions, and see you soon.